Good morning. I am just going to give everybody a couple minutes to join our webinar this morning. It's a beautiful day in Wisconsin. I hope wherever you're at, it's also beautiful. Feel free to use the chat section to type in who you are, where you're from. I am solo today. And what I mean by that is you can see that I'm in a different environment. This is my spare bedroom in my house. Our producer director is off today. We actually allow him to take some vacation, which is nice. And so I am filming the webinar from my home today. So hopefully you're not going to get too many distractions. I don't have any pets, so that's good. But I would love for you to type in the chat where you're from. And I am just looking for my chat box. And I'm not seeing it. That's frustrating. See, I'm so spoiled with Andy. He gives me lots and lots of help. But welcome. I'm glad that you're here today. We are going to be talking about World Mosaic, which is a Nasco and art class curator partnership on art curriculum. It's a full year of art curriculum, and it's was designed with K through fifth grade. However, it is extremely adaptable for really all ages and definitely into middle school. So I'm curious to know if you are from middle school. I am going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And there's my chat box. And so it is 10:32, so I will go ahead and get started. We are recording this session. I believe we're recording this session, yes. And see how spoiled I am? I'm telling you. So let me start back to my PowerPoint and share this screen with you. As you join, you're more than welcome to use the chat box. I've got it up and we'll check to see if you have any questions. But World Mosaic is technically elementary curriculum K to 5. It is art around the world, but it is truly and honestly adaptable to middle school. And as we take a look through this, and as it applies to cross-curricular particularly, you will see how flexible it is. I love the fact that art education supports a student's complete education. It enhances the other disciplines. It teaches them life skills and critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, of course. And so this curriculum is so fantastic in terms that it not only builds a beautiful art education, but it also helps strengthen the student's complete education. And I think art educators are phenomenal at that. World Mosaic has a foundation of engage, create, and reflect. And as we get into perspectives, which is the secondary curriculum, it builds on this. And so the two really create students to become really critical thinkers and learn how to discuss. And I'll just take you through because this is going to show you. So engage, and I'm going to relate this a lot to how it applies to the cross-curricular. And I'm going to start with a unit that comes from the fifth grade unit in North America. World Mosaic, it covers all the continents, and I put them in air quotes like that because once we lay out what they are, you'll see that they're not exactly the 7 continents, but they represent regions of the continents and areas where art is rich. This is North America, which of course there's crazy great art all over the place. But this is a cool piece from Augusta Savage, and it's called The Harp Lift Every Voice. So you might not share the artist and the art and the name of the artwork first. You might just share the piece of artwork. And so in this particular activity, the student is going to write a narrative of what this piece is all about and maybe the story that it's telling. And they're just going to use it based off of what they see and what they know and how they interpret, which is a beautiful thing because Cindy Ingram, who is the founder of Art Class Curator, always says the student's voice or the viewer's voice matters equally as much as the artist's voice. And I never thought of that. I mean, I think when I look at a piece of art, I am in awe of the artist, and my brain thinks the artist is you know, the authority, right? But my voice matters in terms of looking at this piece and how it makes me feel and what I see and how I interpret it, which also makes me understand untitled pieces of art. So once you talk about their narrative, then you might have them really observe for symbols. And this is where you really grow students' ability to focus and to look at detail and to practice the discipline of paying attention. And as they observe this and say, oh, like I see this hand, and maybe that's a symbol for something. Or, how straight the people are, and maybe they look like columns. And so you sort of they talk through the symbols that they see. You, as the teacher, are going to decide when you talk about who the artist is and what the piece of artwork is about. And the great news is in the lesson plan, it gives you all of that information and resources and a lot in World Mosaic, even some books and some other resources that you can look into to add to this unit or this particular lesson. And so once you decide to share that, you might then do 3 and 4. So 3 is the connection that it makes, and what does the artwork remind you of in your own life, and they then discuss what it means to them, which I love, again, because it gives everybody an opportunity to learn. And especially in World Mosaic, where it's going to be a wide variety of artists, a wide variety of cultures and countries and regions and history and time periods. And so how do we connect with a time period that maybe we weren't born into, or whatever the case may be. And then the path. And I love this because this is, what do you do with this? So it's more than just looking at art and appreciating art. And art appreciation is a good thing, but connecting and making art connections really tie us to the world that we live in. And so this clearly is connecting us in terms of other disciplines to how we present and how we speak. And I'm giggling because I certainly hope you're not hearing my busy traffic, and if you are, I apologize. But how we speak and how we talk and discuss, this is definitely going to have some writing skills as you write down your narrative and write down your symbols. And so there's going to be some language arts connections. This is another activity that is specific to the harp, and this is talking about my song. And so it gives students an opportunity to talk about what would your lyrics be, and how would you connect it to your life, and what would your song be about, and maybe you're talking about the instruments. And so again, this is another time that they're going to be able to take their thoughts and write them down. A little bit more on my song. And so just bringing it all together, this particular lesson is definitely going to have language arts, reading and writing, and social emotional learning. They're going to learn about social awareness, self awareness, and relationships. Math, and you might say, I'm not really getting the math in here. But, as you talk about how this artist created this, and proportion, and pattern, things like that are going to be math ties. Certainly, when you talk about the music, you're going to talk about rhythm and things like that. And then, of course, history and world geography are also going to be a part of this as well. And I like the fact in the world of the history part of this is that's where some equity, diversity, and inclusion come in, and come in a way that is safe, that is following whatever laws your state has about teaching equity and diversity. And it's an environment where it is very controlled, and you are leading that discussion. And so I am thrilled at how this is put together, and it fits the whole child. This is just another example of an activity. This is the piece of artwork that you're looking at, or quite honestly, any of the artworks, you could use the I am character poem. And so as you look at the art, you choose one of the characters. So in this case, you would choose one of the faces or the mask, and then you would talk about I am, I feel, I hear. And it's truly delightful to hear how students perceive something. And then does their perception change when they learn about the art? This one is showing like a physical piece that you're going to make based on the art. And so it's not a complete copycat. Lots of the art that is associated with the World Mosaic lesson plans might be about like the design of it, or the pattern, or the materials used. Some of it's based on the idea or the theme. And please know that if you have any questions or concerns, chat it up. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I like this one because this also includes design in it. And so there's planning and preparing and organizing and collaborating, and the use of, utilizing our materials wisely. But there's math here, because you're going to have to balance this, and you're going to have to figure out how to put the pieces together. So I really love that one. Here's one that's called the drawing description game. Excuse me. This one is where a student is going to look at a piece of art and describe what they see, and students will draw based on what the describer is saying. So like if I'm describing to you, you're not seeing this piece of art, but I might say, start with a circle in the middle, create another circle in the middle, and inside that circle, draw a person sitting crisscross applesauce. And then, obviously there is so much detail in here, but again, this is critical thinking and observing, and just there's going to be some math in here as you talk about mandalas, pattern, all kinds of things. And again, it is that critical thinking, that way of how do I speak something that I see. I'm not even sure I'm doing it very well right now. So next is the create. And we know that you love, as teachers, to create art. You are art educators, so you live to make things, and students love making things. So yes, that really is a self-portrait of me. Don't judge it too hard, okay? Because I kind of am your 5th, 6th, 7th grader, but I love so much to do the work because I learn from it every time. I am a gigantic fan of art educators. This one is a self-portrait painting, and I believe that it also was a 5th grade lesson, and I'm trying to think of what region it came from, and I have forgotten, but no worries. But the cool part about this one is that the piece is actually sort of a 3D piece and doesn't look like this at all, but it really talks about people and cultures and, you know, what we know and whatever. And so students get to pick a word, and I picked weird because that's a favorite word of mine. I like to be a little bit weird, and I love that art educators have always embraced differences. And so one of my grandbabies said, "Granny, so and so called me weird." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome." And so, we talked about name calling and things like that, and accepting people for who they are. This is going to tie into all kinds of stuff because there is absolute going to be color mixing in there, which is a little bit of science. There's going to be language arts because there's written word in here. There's going to be design and pattern and just a wide variety of disciplines that you will be discussing. But I love the fact that there are always going to be a physical, hands-on activity as well. Some of it is going to be choice-based. There's going to be an actual suggested project, but there's still a lot of choices you can make in that. And the teacher has a ton of flexibility in terms of how they teach it and how you want it to put it together. It might be just a great springboard off of, yep, I like this, but I'm going to use these materials and I'm going to do it this way. I like that many of the lesson plans in World Mosaic have a book. So there's absolutely literacy involved in World Mosaic. Not all of them, but a good many of the 42 lesson plans in World Mosaic have books that are attached. There's definitely art discussion. So having that collaboration and communication that's happening. And I know that that's not necessarily a class, but that is a skill that you use in science, in math, in social studies, in reading, and everything that we do. The designing, like here's designing a felt pillow. So that's just going to be utilizing the same design process that they use in engineering in art. And people just a lot of times don't even put those things together. I put these worksheets on the screen because they're good note taking and the journal entering, because again, those are things that help us in all of our areas of life and school and work. Here is a piece of art, a work of art, along with actual, what's the word I'm looking, projects. And so this particular one is from the Oceana unit. I believe this is kindergarten, and the students are going to take cardboard and create a collage, and then they will decorate it from there. It's from the Maori, and I practiced that for a long time. It's from the Maori culture, and it is Whakairo carvings. And yeah, it's Whakairo, but the WH is actually pronounced with an F, Whakairo. And really, these are a very expressive people. And there's a lot of like tattoos and cool things like that. And so you study this culture, which is going to be some geography in there. It's going to be some social studies. And again, I would say a heavy emphasis on math, because you're going to have shapes, you're going to have patterns, you're going to have a design element in it. And so just really fun as you put together not necessarily like copycat projects, but projects in this case are going to be a lot about the emotion that is on the face. And I think that social emotional learning has almost become a discipline that we are teaching. And then the reflecting is so important, because what do you do with it? And often art educators are charged with like, oh, you get to do all the fun stuff, but it is so much more than that. And our teachers teach such important life skills and social emotional learning skills, and everything connects back to reading and writing and arithmetic. That sounds almost like old school funny, but I'm so serious. Like, everything is so connected in the art room to our life. And whether we go on to college or career, or just life in general, the skills that we use in the art room definitely are skills we use in real life. So that reflecting is super important. So the reflection just is talking about it's important as they create their artwork, reflecting on it, and the skills that they used and what they learned and how they're going to use it. And it really encourages that that growth mindset, and what I learned and how I'm going to get better, and what are my strengths and how I'm going to utilize those strengths, and how I can learn from my weaknesses. So here's some examples of the reflection activities. Pair share, often connecting two students together and reflecting on their artwork and guessing about each other's artwork. There's a wearable activity in one, and then you do like a fashion show, which is kind of a fun thing too. Writing stories and that go along with the artwork. Clearly, I don't need to read them all, but there are some things where they might sing or write poems, or practice motions, and just a wide variety of not only physically making, but then taking what they've made and reflecting on it, and extending it out as well. I feel like I might be flying through. Hopefully I'm not losing you. I wish I could see your faces. It's always hard when you're presenting though. So now I'm going to get really a little bit down, a little deeper dive into what World Mosaic includes. So it is based off of kindergarten through 5th grade. Honestly, you can take a kindergarten lesson plan and move it up all the way to adults. There's 7 units that are based on the continents per grade, so a grand total of 42 units. And I say that because it really can be a mix and match situation. They have the cross-curricular connections, social emotional connections, and then absolutely creating art as well. So here's the regions, and you're going to see a little bit of that artwork that is associated with. That was the piece that went with the self-portrait that you saw. So clearly that piece of artwork doesn't necessarily match what you make, but the theme of it and what you learn during that unit is there, and that's where you're reflecting on what you make. And I love William the Hippo. So Africa, Asia, and yep, you're going to see some, some of the masters in there, but you're also going to get a wide variety of media and artists and cultures. Here is Europe and the Middle East, which isn't a continent, but it is so rich in art that art class curator definitely wanted to highlight it. North America, Oceania. I loved this one because this one is actually a map, and students will learn about map making and the art that goes with it. I thought that was very cool. South America. And so each unit is going to include a really extensive lesson plan. Often when you hear about lesson plans, it is how to make something. Nasco, all of this is housed on Nasco Educate. It's Nasco's platform that delivers the curriculum content. And it has Nasco lesson plans that you might be familiar with from Nasco Education. Those are lesson plans on this is how you make this. And it's typically, directions and materials, that kind of stuff. This lesson plan is true curriculum lesson plan. It has the overview and the objectives and the national standards. It has the featured artwork and the information about it and the information about the artist. In some cases, like William the Hippo, they don't know who the artist is. So you're not going to get that, but it's going to give you all of that information and how to talk about it, vocabulary words and the supply lists. And it shows the suggested lesson that you're going, or the suggested art project you're going to make, and gives some directions, but it's not like super specific on you have to do this and you have to do this. It leaves it open a little bit to interpretation, which I really love and appreciate. I know that teachers all over are going to add to it and take away from it and combine it with the things that they know and make it yours. And I think that's phenomenal, which is also the way that it works in terms of higher grades and middle school. You'll be able to enhance other things with it. And then a ton of activities and worksheets that come with it. And then the reflection activities. The discuss part is happens in the engaging and the reflecting. This also is included 4 steps to fun and engaging art discussion, where you are going to be able to watch a PD video on how to have those discussions and lead discussions and get students talking. And when you start to train them in elementary, they take it with them through middle school and high school. And the nice part is that also prepares them for college and career. There is not a place that you work that doesn't have a meeting that asks for discussion. And this prepares students for, beyond K through 12. Discussion, lots of activities like this one, where this piece of artwork, the woman is deciding between art and music. You can't see because there's the questions, but it's between the pull between art and music. I kind of giggle because she's in a white dress, so that art, that dress is getting dirty, but really fun because the student gets to really observe the piece. And as questions are asked and they talk about it, they can, maybe they want to talk about the white dress and who would paint in a white dress. So maybe she's better to do the music, and maybe she's looking that direction. And so lots of fun conversation. these are often, what is the word I'm looking for? These are often activities that art teachers pick when superintendents or curriculum supervisors are observing classroom, because they are so well received and students love to discuss. Oops, there we go. Open-ended questions. They're going to have social emotional learning, the visual analysis, the cross-curricular connections are going to be there, and then the personal connections. And so it teaches through this curriculum, you as the teacher learn how to have those conversations around the art. The engagement activities, we've talked a lot about poem writing and creating the word web that organizes your thoughts, and life skills that go with that, games that they can play, and the writing of stories, and even posturing yourself in the way that you see in the art, and books that are related. And there are so many things that you come up with, and guaranteed your students will come up with ideas as well. This is just a big random picture of tons of the activity sheets and worksheets that go with it. And the really nice part is this can be interchanged with a wide variety of art. So here's one that says, what do you think? And clearly that's an anchor artwork of one of the lessons, but you can always use a piece of artwork from your state or from your city or even from your classroom to say, what do you think? And so I love that it gives teachers a wide variety of tools to use as they're talking. This again just shows a plethora of the artwork. And yet you're definitely going to have, like I said, some of the masters like Van Gogh in there. There's nothing wrong with that. But on the other hand, we don't want to just teach all of the dead European white artists, men. So this has a lot of diversity so that students can see themselves in all of the artwork and make connections because it's art from all around the world. Sample projects and the art is clearly important, and littles love to make art, and all the way up middle school and high school there, the art making is that creative side of us. And so weaving and sewing and 2D and 3D and painting and clay, wide variety. And it is set up that if you follow it as it is written, it's also set up so only half of the students are doing paint at the same time, so that you don't have all 6th grades, kinder through 5th grade, doing paint at the same time. Because that's craziness, unless you enjoy that craziness, and then you can purposely plan it that way. But otherwise, it was sort of planned with those things in mind as well. Time period and amount of time taken is easily adapted based on how the amount of time you get with students and how often you see them. So it gives you some suggestions of how it was written, but you're able to add in more worksheets or take out worksheets, or spend more time here. And the way that you put it in order is flexible too. So I love that you can take it sort of right out of the box, which it's delivered digitally, but you can just take it and use it and it works. Or you can incorporate it into a style and a manner of how you teach and what works for your school and classroom and school district. Whoops. So again, connecting the art to the art making, there's a big idea or a theme. There's the artwork and the function in terms of what you're making, and the content and the subject or story, the media and technique, and then of course the elements and principles of art and design. So all of those or some of those are going to be included in the actual making of art. And it helps because when you're learning about time periods and then you're creating something, those two things are right brain and left brain, and it makes whole brain thinking. So then when students hear about a time period or a historical time, uh, and they're now in social studies, they are making those connections. When they're talking about patterns and shapes and geometry, they're making those connections. And so that cross curricular is happening all the time in connecting the art. And they're starting to see that kind of geometric connection when they look at potentially abstract art or a particular style or piece of art. It's amazing because all of this also supports the district larger goals. 21st century skills and visual literacy, social emotional learning is at the top of people's list. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the top of the list. It is also something that is being, I don't know if scrutinized is the right word, but there's also lots of concern in how it's being taught. This is a very safe way to teach diversity, equity, and inclusion without creating concern about how you're teaching it. Cross-curricular connections are always important, and you're showing that all of what you do in the art room is connecting to what's happening to the students' whole education. And when you point these things out to district supervisors, they see the value. And I have yet to run into a supervisor that says, this is too expensive. They understand the value of the curriculum. This is great because it lays out how the art class curator curriculum and the World Mosaic and Perspectives through Nasco is for students, for teachers, and for the district. And so there's things for each that matter and resonate for each of these different groups, but it ties it all together. And so it's, you know, that win-win situation, which I know is very cliche, but it's so true. Ultimately, the students have to learn because that is what they're there for, and that is who you serve. And so they will benefit. And by helping them benefit, it benefits you as a teacher, but it also helps you in the amount of time that you spend to put all this information together and gather all the information. And you can take the time that you save on what you get with World Mosaic on your students and on your school and classroom. And the district is looking at checking off these, you know, global initiatives. And when it's looking at their initiatives as it applies to EDI and social emotional learning and, you know, um, improving scores and, you know, learning loss and all of that kind of stuff, this is phenomenal. It's also great because it very much connects with the ESSER funds that are available, and those funds are available through September of 2022. The National Art Education Association did a fantastic, it's called a town hall meeting. I'm real into my air quotes today. Sorry, I'm just a hands kind of person, but they did a fabulous town hall, which is a, you know, a like a webinar about the ESSER funds. If you need that, absolutely, you can email me. I will actually put my email in the chat at nascoeducation.com. So I'm kbaki@nascoeducation.com. Feel free to email me anytime. Oh, I got to go back one. So all of World Mosaic is delivered on Nasco Education's online platform. Right now it is called Nasco Educate. I say that because I think it's going to get a little brand refresh and a facelift, but as is, I am so proud of this platform. It is also a subscription-based platform. It's like $149 for a teacher. If there's more than 16 teachers in a school, I think it's a discount for $2,500 for a school. The cool part is with World Mosaic, you do not have to pay additional for Nasco Educate. I don't take time to go through Educate in this webinar because I want to focus on World Mosaic and I don't want anybody to get confused. For sure would invite you to send me an email or respond back to our email. Laughing my head off because there is a gigantic um, fire truck going by right now. So I am super, super sorry about that. It's why I always go to the studio to do my webinars, but Andy can have a day off. So I will live without him today and we'll just have fun extra noise in the background. So back to Educate, I would be more than happy to do a great big deep dive and personal demonstration for you, your administrator, anybody in your school about NASCO Educate and World Mosaic or both and share with you how that works. But it's a fantastic platform. World Mosaic price is $1,000 and it includes NASCO Educate for your whole school. So you really are getting a $2,500 value for $1,000. And you might say, well, that seems upside down. It is, but this is the value that we have placed on World Mosaic. And so we want to give you the extra when you purchase it. And so it's the full year of curriculum. We talked about the 42 units for K through 5th and can be used with 6th, 7th, and 8th. High school, there's a perspectives curriculum that is really Art 101 or foundational art for secondary students. I'll be doing a webinar later this month on that. But the art connection and the art making, the cross-curricular, it's a site license, so it lends itself to partnering. So if you have a social studies teacher and you that want to partner and you want to, whether it's like the Augusta Savage piece and you want to talk about that time period of, when it was at the state fair and what was going on in that year, or William the Hippo and where they found this piece of artwork. And so just lots of cool ways that other teachers can use this. And then, of course, there's the bonus subscription to NASCO Educate. And then there's art discussion training and a whole bunch of extra worksheets that are involved. How am I doing on time? I'm doing good. Does anybody have any questions? I am going to stop sharing and I'm looking to see where we're at. If you have any questions, I would encourage you to type them in the chat. This is something that is available for the start of this school year. If you are thinking about it and need to build a case for next school year or for next semester, absolutely more than happy to take some time out to, like I said, do a personal demo for you and take you exactly through both World Mosaic and how it's delivered on NASCO Educate. NASCO Educate offers a whole lot of extra professional development. All of these webinars that we do get housed on Educate and can be watched later. And if your administration allows that for professional development credit, you can virtually get all your year of professional development in there as well. So with that, does anybody have any questions? I will give you an opportunity. I was trying to switch my screen to see if I could see your faces, but no go. I can't seem to make it work. And again, I keep laughing because I'm so spoiled when I go to the studio and I just get to sit at my beautiful table and in the beautiful scenery. And our producer director does all the work for me. So today I am showing my technology skills. I am going to give you 15 minutes back of your life. You will get an email that has the link. It will have a professional development certificate with it that you can fill out and turn in. And if you have any questions or would like a personal demonstration, I will quick throw this back up on the screen. And let me see, am I hopefully sharing it? I'm not sure if I'm actually sharing that or not. I don't think I am. I know, are you just embarrassed for me? I really am too. Here we go. So there is that, and I will let you go, but I thank you so much for taking time out of your summer and to come and hear about this. Hopefully you saw something that you liked. If you're, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, Marilyn, you are the best. You made me feel so good because I felt like I'm just all over the place. I'm typically don't do this in what's my makeshift office that I never intended to work at home, but welcome to our pandemic. So I appreciate your kindness. And honestly, I appreciate what you do. Nasco is in full support of the educators that we serve. I have worked at Nasco for 17 years and I have become a full-on fan of not only educators, but especially art educators. I love what you do and I love how you are just have a servant heart. Thank you. Make sure to take time to enjoy some of this summer and get recharged and remotivated. We have a Maker Monday coming up on this coming Monday. I believe it is the 12th. We also have Cassie Stevens on the 12th, who will be doing a Class Acts interview and talking a little bit about her book. So please come back to those if you need any help. My name is Chris Bakke. I'm the Customer Engagement Manager for Nasco Education, kbakke@nascoeducation.com. Have a great, wonderful rest of your day.